shine on Happy Camper Life. We're loving, living, and learning online on Happy Camper Life.
Hey everybody, it's David with Happy Camper Live. Today we have an amazing podcast with this wonderful, wonderful lady. She's a photographer, a portrait photographer, a mom, an all-around creative gal. Everybody welcome Courtney Ortiz.
Yay. Hi, David. I'm so happy to hang out with you on Saturday.
Well, I'm so glad you've joined us. So tell us a little bit about your passion for photography, and let's start at the beginning. How did you get into it, and what's that first shot you took and you said, I love it?
I have a bachelor's degree in elementary education. So I like to say I was a teacher in my past life. And then I had my son, and it was, so cliche, the birth of my first son, and just sparked a passion for photography. And it did. So I was actually looking to hire a photographer to take pictures of my son. And the ones I really wanted to hire were really expensive. And I thought, hey, I could do that. And my dad was always kind of like the amateur photographer in the family. And he bought me my first camera, which was still like early on in the digital age, 2007. And I was it sparked something in me. And I learned everything that I could learn about photography online. I'm completely self-taught. And my sister, who was in college at the time, who was building websites, she's like, hey, I'll build you a website. And I went, okay. So she built me my first website, and I got my first set of business cards from Vistaprint, those 100 cards, or however many they gave you. And I just did it. I just started a business. And, lucky for me, I had a 10-month-old who, so all of my friends had kids. So I had this like never-ending supply of eager models and eager new clients. And, it's been 13 years. This September was 13 years that I've had my business. So it's been an incredible journey. And through it all, I almost feel like, coming from with an education degree where you don't know anything, with very limited background on running a business, it's almost through the whole process that the passion that I had for photography, that was the start of it, almost lit a passion for, owning your own business and learning that business and kind of learning that side. Because it's really, in order to make money, it's a really good balance of both, right? You got to be just as talented of a photographer as running a business. So that was really interesting too. So it's been a really incredible journey, and of just following being fortunate to be in a position where I've been able to, pursue those areas that have really, really interested me.
So a lot of people starting out, and they want to be able to take good photos. But what does that constitute? In other words, you went out, you looked online for, what's the best way, what's the best equipment, how do you do that? There's a big creative element to any art form. And how did you figure that out? I mean, it's great that you have a model, but still, as I say in the business, right, composing that shot. How does one gain an eye for that kind of stuff?
I think, David, the first thing, and I think this is true with like any creative, when you really feel like you're putting yourself on the line and creating your work, is kind of getting over, not kind of, but our biggest obstacle is just one of fear, right? We're so afraid. What is someone going to think if I take this picture? What if it's not good? You just got to do it, right? If this is something that you're interested in, it's just putting yourself out there and taking that picture and reaching out to that friend and saying, hey, I'm really getting into photography. Can I take your picture? Or whatever your medium is, or whatever it is you're trying to do, but just, you've got to do it, right? What's that book? The War of Art, right? Where you just, you have to do it every day. And I think that's the biggest obstacle. And my biggest, I think, advice to any new creative or photographer is just getting out there and doing it. And doing it every day, and not being afraid, and getting out of your comfort zone. And because that's the only way you're going to grow, whether you're trying to just grow your talent or grow your business or grow anything, but just you got to continuously step outside of that box and just do it.
So
there is no try, right? There is only
there's
do.
no try, only do. That's right. Yeah. Famous young, we don't even know the species once said that, but I'm sure everybody knows
right,
that
right
now. So what you're saying is like, if my student wanted to try photography and they take pictures, how do they know if it's right? Is that a feeling or is it a comparison?
I know as a photographer, when you become a photographer too for work, right? Sometimes you do the same thing over and over again, and you lose a little bit of that feeling of what got you into it. But when you are, for me, when I'm looking at a group of pictures and I'm editing it, which, taking pictures is the fun part, right? It's the editing it and the work part that can be a drag. But when you're sitting there and you're going through them and one just kind of like grabs you and you just stop, right? And it takes your breath away. So it's a feeling. It's not a comparison. It's just that feeling you get. And my biggest thing is right now, my motto is done is better than perfect. So if you just get it done and you take that picture, it's definitely not perfect if you don't even do it. So done is better than perfect, and just do it and you'll feel it. You'll get that feeling. Because your work really isn't about anybody else but you anyway, right? We are our biggest critic.
Oh, for sure. I think that's really great advice, because I think a lot of people are definitely, especially, I'm a musician, but I don't touch art because I know I'm not good at that. But every time I try, I say, well, that could be good. I'm my worst critic, but I think that stands true for a lot of people. And they're like, I don't want to take a picture because I don't know how it works and I don't know what to take a picture of and where it goes and the right camera and whatnot.
You know what you said, David, that really you said, I'm a musician, but I don't touch art. Like, you don't feel comfortable with that term artist, when in fact, like, you are an artist, right? As a musician, and I think that is something that maybe we all struggle with, having a background in elementary education. And then, all of a sudden, like, becoming a photographer, I felt, and even today feel really uncomfortable. I mean, I'm better about it now, but the word artist and correlating what I did with art was really uncomfortable for me. And I never really felt comfortable saying that because, the artists were the kids in high school that were great painters and they sketched and they drew. And that wasn't me. And so to feel comfortable. So I think it's like feeling comfortable with these terms, right? These artificial terms. You're an artist. You're not an artist. What are we allowed to do? And in fact, like, as a musician, you're an artist. As a photographer, I'm an artist. And we have to allow ourselves to, we can be an artist, right? Everybody's an artist.
So I think social media sometimes plays a role in labeling people, and especially young people, about, what an artist is, what a composer is, what a painter is, and especially what a photographer is. So how does that, what you were saying before is so excellent, because it sounds like, you can be whatever you want to be. You can call yourself whatever you want to be. It has nothing to do with what other people call you or label you.
Right. Sure. Yeah. And all we do all day is flip through social media and we look at we look at all these other things that other people are doing, and we just constantly compare ourselves. And that's our biggest obstacle. And then we don't post that photo. Maybe that photo that we took earlier that day that made us so happy, but we struggle because we don't do it. Or you don't post this song, or you playing this piano piece because, you saw someone else. So we got it. It's just, that is our, as creatives and as young people who are trying to blossom into creatives, you just got to do it. And it's that fear again. I think when we take it back to the beginning, when I said like fear, whether it's social media causes that fear. I mean, it's that fear in whatever direction it is. That's like, as creatives, our biggest obstacle. So you just got to do it.
One of my mentors once, just do it. Just somebody came up with that, but we'll give you credit.
Right? Thanks.
I think one of my old mentors told me once that artist equals bravery. And a lot of whatever you do and whoever you are, it takes a lot of bravery. But the truth is, right, if you don't show up to the plate, you're never going to get an at bat, or, what you were saying before. So it's really excellent advice. Now, I want to ask another question. So a little birdie told me you won some awards for your photography. So we'd love to know a little bit about that.
So, I have here locally in South Florida, I've been named one of Miami's top 10 family photographers for 3 years in a row.
Ooh.
So that's really awesome. And I have also been Sun Sentinel, South Florida Family Magazine's top family photographer in Broward County as well, which is like Fort Lauderdale, where Dade County would be Miami. So it's been I've been so grateful of this crazy, amazing journey of this business that I started, just as like something to do for fun. And I'm really grateful that it's just given me and afforded me so many opportunities, and so many opportunities too to give back to the community. And I think that's one of my biggest passions in terms of running a business or building a brand, or even creating a portfolio, is making causes that really mean a lot to your heart, or nonprofits in your area, is being able to integrate those two things. And I think that's what's also helped win some of those awards, that it's not just my photography, but my involvement in the community as well. Well, because I think it's really important.
Yeah, no, it's incredibly important. But I think it's interesting, what you were saying, like, I'm sure you never expected to get these awards or these accolades and recognition from, something outside of your small little world. So, that's what's cool. So how does that make you feel as both an artist? I imagine the business end of it, really, that helped a lot. But how does that make you feel as an artist, getting recognition from these papers and magazines?
Oh, I mean, it makes me, there's no way to describe the amount of like self-pride that I feel. And actually just this week, one of my family portraits was featured on the Today Show, because they interviewed a friend, a mutual friend actually, who just published a book, and they used one of my photos, his family portraits, in the book, and as part of his interview. So like, that was really cool. My work with a print credit on the Today Show. So, I mean, listen, not a day goes by that I don't give thanks for what started as Candids by Courtney and has become Courtney Studios over 13 years has been really cool. And coming from someone with an education degree, with no background in business, no background in photography, that, it's cool. And then I get to meet you. Cool. Like, it's awesome. It's taken me a lot of really amazing places, and it's all about, again, like having the faith and not being afraid, and just getting out there and getting out of your comfort zone, right? Every day, getting out of your comfort zone. Do one thing that scares you, and not in a physical way, but, just make that one phone call. So
you mentioned before that taking photos is the fun part, and then editing is the drag. So tell us out there how you keep your stuff fresh and exciting, and the fact that you're going to take a bunch of family portraits, or you're going to take nature portraits, but you have to go back and edit it. How does a young artist keep it exciting and fresh and keep moving forward?
With a really great Spotify playlist, and and just, but it's just, you just got to keep your eye on the prize, right? And with every job, because now it's a job, right? Once it becomes a job, there's always aspects of it that are not your favorite, and you just keep your eye on the prize, and you go through them, and that once you've gone through them and you're editing them, that you're creating a collection of images that you can be really proud of, and that's what's really awesome. That take your breath away moment. I used to say my tagline was, I work collaboratively with my clients to create wall displays that will take your breath away and make your heart skip a beat every time you walk into a room. So just kind of keeping your eye on the prize and knowing what your ultimate goal is. And, you just gotta get through it.
Cool. So you have a family, right? You have a husband and 2 children?
Yes.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit.
3.
You have 3. That's right. And tell us their names, their ages. And then I have the very important question of how do they influence you on a daily basis?
Who's my favorite?
No favorites. There are no favorites.
Okay. So I have 3 kids. I'm very lucky. My oldest is Owen. He's 14. He's in 8th grade. So we're making this big high school decision, which is crazy. My daughter Stella is 12. She's in 6th grade. And then Charlotte is my youngest, and she just turned 9 and she's in 3rd grade. Well, I mean, from the very beginning of starting my photography business, it was the birth of my son, right, Owen, that really influenced me in that way. And I mean, your kids and your family, and having to meet the needs of other people in itself is such a great influence right there. And actually, currently, I'm going back to my education roots. And in the middle of a pandemic, I'm teaching 3rd grade because my youngest daughter, her teacher took leave and the class needed a teacher. So in that way, she's influenced me and, heading back to my roots. So your family, your kids are always going to be kind of what shapes what you're doing at that time and decisions that you make in terms of business and personal and all of it. We got a dog. We did get a pandemic puppy. So yes.
Okay.
Yes.
What's as a dog lover, I have 2 giant ones. What are your dogs? What's the dog's name? And
we have an 8-month-old Boston Terrier named Buck.
Oh, yeah. That sounds adorable.
Oh, he brings me so much joy.
That's so cool. So do you ever get a new camera or a new idea and say, Owen, get over here. I need you to stand like this. And you're going to try some stuff out. Do you use your kids as models?
So I'll say, hey, Owen, I have this camera. Let's go take outside. And he would tell me to no. So yes, I do try to, but I find that if I'm really serious about trying something new and wanting it to be successful, my best bet is asking somebody else's kids, a friend's kids, to help me because, first of all, everyone's always excited. Every friend of mine is always excited for an opportunity to get some, experimental professional pictures. Everybody always says yes to that. And other people's children are generally way more cooperative than my own.
Cool. So another aspect of your life that we actually met is summer camp. So
yeah.
Tell us about your experience with Happy Camper Live and what that meant to you.
Well, Happy Camper Live it's been so much fun. I've really enjoyed, working with friends that are involved in Happy Camper Live, and it's broadened my skills and kind of forced me to learn the video side of photography a little bit, which is something that besides just hitting record, I've never really played around with. So that's been interesting. Also, having to do, be in front of the camera, creating the videos, another way to, step out of your comfort zone and do something that you're not used to. But it also, growing up, I always wanted to be an actress. So it fulfills my childhood dream of, being famous. But it's been really great. I've been able to do work for some big company, big corporate names like Lunchables and Off. And I've made a lot of really cool connections, and it's been great. I love Happy Camper Live.
I think it's cool because I've watched you work both at Camp Live as well as Happy Camper Live. And I noticed that one of the elements beside the technical work of photography is you become quite the director, and you say, you stand there, put your arm up, watch the light, all these things that I bet come with experience, but all of those elements must be is really great for a young photographer or a young person who wants to get involved in sort of shaping something. I think it's a neat skill that you should embrace because you're so good at it.
Oh, well, thank you. Got to get the job done, David. We don't have time to fool around when at camp or when you're dealing with a lot of people. I got 100,000 images I got to take and produce for the summer.
So yeah, one of the things that I also noticed, we were talking about if you ever asked Owen to go outside or Stella to go outside and pose. So you're trying a new camera or a new technique or whatever. They're like, no, Mom, no. But at camp, they flock to your camera. They pose. They're like, okay, shoot me. I'm ready. It's like baby young buck who's like, okay, I'm ready for belly rubs.
It is like nothing you have ever, experienced. But even that took like some trust, these kids are just so used to, take my picture. But, as a photographer, I'd have a vision. So I'd be like, oh, well, turn this way, turn that way. And it took a summer for them to and then once they got home and were able to see the work, then, now they ask me, where should I stand? Where's the light grate? Should I stand this way? Camp is unlike anything you will ever experience in the real world.
So now, Courtney, you had mentioned that you are teaching class again, going back to your roots of elementary ed. Tell us what that's like.
Honestly, I'm enjoying it way more than I ever expected. I never had any intention of going back into the classroom. I'm really kind of did it as a way to help out my kids' school. We're back on campus and the teacher took leave. So I'm enjoying it so much. And I'm realizing that as a creative, there is no bigger or better creative content creator job than being a teacher. I mean, it's always that you're thinking about that final product every day, whether it's, a final it's just really been incredible. I'm enjoying it so much that I'm actually contemplating maybe a return full-time in the fall. So, there's a lot to think about, but again, that was, education was my first passion, right? That's what I went to school for. That's what I have my bachelor's degree for. And I think, when you get a degree in something and you spend so much time thinking this is the way that you're like, you plan for this as your future career, there's still even if you take a break, there's still a bit of you in there, right? Like, wow, I spent so much time and money and effort into doing this that being back, feels good. It feels good. So maybe there's I'm relighting a new spark of passion. But we will have to see. I don't know.
When you were before college, when you were a young person and you were Stella's age, what was your back then?
I wanted to be on Broadway. I'm a singer. This summer we should sing a little bit together. I wanted to be an actress. I wanted to be on Broadway. And then I come from a long line of nurses and teachers. So I think I just kind of went I didn't want to do blood. So I just went into education, that was how that worked.
Well, that's certainly neat because a lot of young people, they have their passions now and then things change and the path veers one way or another. But it sounds to me like you've always had that spark of education and creativity from your parents when you were growing up, which I think, a lot of our audience is listening and going, I really like being creative, but I don't know how to make that to 10 years from now when I'm out of college. How do I make that into a business? Thinking that, but they're just trying to have fun and be creative.
Yeah. But how amazing is it to be young, because the job that they might be doing it hasn't even been invented yet, right?
Right.
You don't even know what they're going to be doing in 10 years. So it's really, I think that in itself, I think back when I graduated from high school and I was making the decision to go to college, I think that had we lived in a different time and been exposed to so much, I don't think I would have gone into education. I think I definitely would have had my eyes open to so many other creative fields that are out there that still, allow someone to create and, make a living. But that's, these young people makes me sound so old, but they can create whatever they want, right? Oh, they're whatever job they want. I mean, people are professional video game players and it's just crazy. A kid in my class, I'm going to be a YouTube star. I'm like, oh yeah, you know how hard you have to work to do that. But this is where their minds are at. So they're realistic things. So it'll be interesting to see what my son at 14 is, what he's doing when he's 24.
Yeah. Now I'm thinking about, wow, who would have ever thought you can be an influencer and make a living at it and make a very good living at it?
Yes.
I would have never thought that.
Yeah. I mean, but it's a lot of hard work. I tell my son and these kids, I'm like, you have to work so hard. It's not like you're taking pretty pictures and streaming on Twitch. And these people have teams. All right. It takes a lot of work. So kids takes a lot of work.
So yeah, you might have answered this already, but do you have any other sort of plans in the next few months or years that you're looking at that you want to accomplish?
In the immediate future, I'm going to camp in 4 months. Okay. So after this last 2 years, Camp 2021, that is my biggest accomplishment. Awesome. And, and I'm excited again, just about, during, the last, year and a half pandemic and, business has been slow and then no camp last year, but getting to be in a situation where I can focus on my photography and create and take beautiful pictures of children and continue to build these relationships like that and be able to have, it's a project. So in August, to be able to complete that project and be able to tell this story, I'm telling the story of these kids at camp to their parents. So that's a really big responsibility to me. So if I can tell a beautiful story, I mean, that right now, that's my big project. I want to get that done.
That's amazing. Well, we're going to wrap it up here. Do you have any other advice or anything you want to say to our audience, especially for our younger audience who are just starting out and they're discovering their own passions and their own ideas of what they want to do with their, with their time? Pandemic aside, let's just focus on the artistry.
Don't be afraid. Don't listen to this voice. We have two voices in our heads. Stop listening to the wrong voice in your head and listen to your heart. But don't be afraid. Take that picture. If there's something that interests you, try it. And it takes multiple times. Like, you try it one time. Oh, I wasn't good at it. Well, sometimes you got to do it 3 times, 4 times, 5 times, 100 times. But just don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. It's easier said than done, but don't be afraid.
Yeah, it's tough, but I bet we have some brave young boys and girls that are ready.
Yay!
Well, thanks so much for joining me and chatting with me today. It's been
always
awesome.
A pleasure.
Yes, and we will definitely see you soon. Yeah. Thank you very much, Courtney Ortiz. And remember to join us on all social media platforms and happycamperlive.com or wherever you can download and listen to the podcast. Thanks, everybody.
Take a moment to shine.